Late April 2016. Washington, D.C. Inside a nondescript office building, a network technician sits frozen in front of his monitor. His screen isn't showing standard traffic logs. It's displaying a persistent, silent anomaly, gigabytes of sensitive internal data migrating across the network, heading toward an unauthorized offshore IP address. It isn't a glitch. It's an active extraction, happening right under their noses. The target? The Democratic National Committee headquarters, the nerve center of an American presidential election. But this wasn't a standard corporate breach. The intruder didn't smash through the front digital gates with brute force. They were already inside. They had been moving quietly through the internal servers for months, sitting on private communications, financial spreadsheets, and strategic campaign roadmaps. Within hours, the IT team realizes they are utterly outmatched. The intruder isn't a lone teenager looking for a quick payday, and they aren't a rogue activist group. The tools being used are sophisticated, clean, and terrifyingly efficient. Every time the internal security software tries to isolate the threat, the intruder simply adapts, shifting channels, clearing event logs, and opening new backdoors. Panicked, the committee makes a secret phone call to a private cybersecurity firm named CrowdStrike. The message is urgent. "We have an emergency. Someone is inside our house, and we can't get them out." When senior forensic investigators arrive in DC under the cover of darkness, they install proprietary network sensors to monitor the intruder's movements. What those sensors reveal over the next 48 hours sends a chill through the highest levels of American intelligence. The invisible ghost moving through the servers wasn't just stealing files, it was laying the groundwork for the most destructive cyber operation in modern political history. To understand how the entire system fell, you have to rewind to March 19, 2016. A Saturday afternoon. John Podesta, the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, opens his inbox. Among dozens of unread emails sits a standard security alert. It claims to come directly from Google, warning him that someone in Ukraine recently tried to log into his Gmail account. The message urges him to change his password immediately, providing a convenient blue link. Podesta's staff forwards the alert to their internal IT help desk to ask if it's legitimate. An IT staffer, typing quickly during a frantic workday, makes a catastrophic typo. He writes back that the email is legitimate, meaning to type illegitimate. He suggests Podesta change his password through official channels, but the damage is done. Podesta clicks the shortened link provided inside the email. That single click didn't open a Google security page. It directed Podesta to a malicious replica hosted on a rogue server, a digital trap set with mathematical precision. The moment he typed in his credentials, the attackers grabbed his password and instantly gained full, unrestricted access to over a decade of private emails, strategic memos, and confidential political correspondence. The trick wasn't high-tech magic, it was malicious social engineering. The attackers had used a URL shortening service called Bitly, but they made a critical error. They left their link creation account set to public. Months later, foreign intelligence analysts would trace that exact Bitly account back to a broader spear phishing campaign, thousands of custom links targeted precisely at defense contractors, NATO diplomats, and American political staffers. The trap had been set for months, and the target had just walked right in. Inside CrowdStrike's headquarters, lead investigator Dmitry Alperovich analyzes the real-time telemetry coming out of the DNC network. As his team maps the malicious code, they discover something highly unusual and deeply unsettling. There isn't just one hacker group inside the servers. There are two, operating completely independently of each other. The first group had entered the network almost a year earlier, back in September 2015. They were quiet, patient, and nearly impossible to detect. They used sophisticated malware that mimicked legitimate administrative commands, carefully harvesting credentials and reading emails without disturbing a single system setting. CrowdStrike gave this group a code name: Cozy Bear. Then came the second group, arriving in March 2016. This intruder was aggressive, loud, and remarkably fast. They deployed custom spyware known as X-Agent, taking screen grabs, keylogging administrative accounts, and rapidly exfiltrating gigabytes of data within days. CrowdStrike designated this second unit Fancy Bear. Here was the bizarre reality. Cozy Bear and Fancy Bear were both state-sponsored units operating out of Moscow, but they didn't appear to be talking to one another. Cozy Bear was traced to the SVR, Russia's Civilian Foreign Intelligence Service. Fancy Bear was traced to the GRU, Russia's Aggressive Military Intelligence Directorate. Two rival Russian spy agencies had hacked into the exact same political target at the same time, stealing the same secrets, completely unaware of each other's presence. But while Cozy Bear was gathering intelligence for traditional diplomacy, Fancy Bear was preparing to weaponize it. By May 2016, the GRU's Fancy Bear hackers had tightened their grip on the DNC's infrastructure. They weren't just reading emails, they had gained administrative domain rights. They could move anywhere, access any file, and monitor any account across the entire political organization. To keep their foothold hidden, the hackers used advanced persistence mechanisms. They installed customized PowerShell scripts directly into the operating system's memory, meaning the malicious code ran without ever touching the hard drive. Standard antivirus software was completely blind to it. Every time a system rebooted, the script executed seamlessly, restoring the hacker's secret tunnel to the outside world. To exfiltrate the massive volume of stolen data without raising red flags, Fancy Bear set up encrypted command and control servers disguised as harmless web domains. They compressed thousands of internal files, including opposition research folders, personal donor spreadsheets, and internal emails, into password-protected archives. Then, using open-source file transfer tools, they siphoned the compressed packages out through authorized ports, hiding the massive data loss inside normal internet traffic. Inside the DNC, staff noticed minor performance lags, but nothing alarming. The attackers were performing a digital autopsy on a major political party in real time. They knew campaign strategy before the campaign managers did. They read press releases before they were printed. They had built a completely transparent glass house around American democracy, and no one inside knew they were being watched. On June 14, 2016, the story explodes into the open. The Washington Post publishes an explosive report. CrowdStrike publicizes that Russian government hackers breached the Democratic National Committee. The revelation sends shockwaves through political and foreign policy circles. The Kremlin immediately denies the claims, dismissing them as anti-Russian paranoia. Then, 24 hours later, something totally unexpected happens. A brand new WordPress blog appears online. The author calls himself Guccifer 2.0, claiming to be a lone Romanian hacktivist. His message is clear. I hacked the DNC, not the Russians. CrowdStrike is lying. To prove his claim, he uploads confidential documents directly to his site, including a massive opposition research file on Donald Trump. On paper, Guccifer 2.0 claimed to be an independent fighter, paying homage to the original Romanian hacker Guccifer who had been jailed years earlier. He claimed he acted alone because he hated corruption, declaring that no foreign government was assisting him. He began reaching out directly to American journalists, offering exclusive, unreleased documents to anyone willing to publish them. It was a brilliant counter-narrative, a public relations maneuver designed to muddy the waters, create doubt, and divert attention away from Moscow. If the public believed a single rogue activist was responsible for the breach, the conversation would stay focused on the content of the stolen documents, rather than the state-sponsored cyber warfare taking place behind the scenes. But as journalists and security researchers began interacting with this mysterious lone hacker, the persona started to fracture. Tech journalists from Motherboard and cybersecurity specialists were eager to test Guccifer 2.0's claims. They initiated private, encrypted text chats with the individual behind the blog, pressing him on his background, his motivations, and his technical methods. When asked to speak in his native language, Romanian, the mask began to fall apart instantly. Guccifer 2.0's responses were filled with broken grammar, bizarre phrasing, and unnatural sentence structures. Romanian linguistic experts analyzed the transcripts and reached a startling conclusion: the user was typing in Russian and feeding the text through an online translator like Google Translate before pasting it into the chat window. Then came the technical mistakes, the operational security slips that leave permanent digital footprints. When Guccifer 2.0 uploaded his first batch of stolen Microsoft Word documents to his blog, investigators immediately extracted the file metadata. Deep within the code, they found something the hacker had forgotten to wipe: Russian language system error strings. Even more damning, the author name saved in the document templates was Felix Dzerzhinsky, the infamous founder of the Soviet secret police. Guccifer 2.0 claimed to operate from a simple computer in Romania, but his digital fingerprints told a completely different story. Every time he went live online, he was using commercial VPN services to scramble his location. But behind those layers of encryption, the signature was undeniable: his server connections, his working hours, and his mistakes pointed straight to a specialized military installation thousands of miles away. July 22, 2016. Just 3 days before the Democratic National Convention is scheduled to launch in Philadelphia. The Democratic Party is preparing to unify behind Hillary Clinton after a long, contentious primary battle against Bernie Sanders. Suddenly, a massive payload drops onto the internet. Wikileaks publishes over 20,000 internal DNC emails and thousands of associated attachments. The files are fully searchable, indexed, and completely unredacted. The leaks reveal controversial internal emails showing DNC officials favoring Clinton over Sanders, sparking instant fury among millions of voters. The timing was calculated for maximum political damage. Protests break out on the streets of Philadelphia. Key political figures turn on one another. Under mounting pressure, DNC chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz is forced to resign on the eve of her own convention. The party is thrown into complete internal chaos, live on global television. Behind the scenes, intelligence agencies were frantically tracking how WikiLeaks obtained the files. They discovered that weeks earlier, Guccifer 2.0 had used encrypted communication channels to transfer massive, multi-gigabyte data archives to WikiLeaks. The persona had acted as the laundering channel, taking files stolen by military hackers and passing them to an organization with a massive global megaphone. Cyber intelligence had officially crossed over into active political sabotage. As the fallout from the convention spread, forensic analysts realized that Guccifer 2.0 was only one part of a multi-front distribution network. Months before the DNC breach became public, another mysterious website had quietly launched, calling itself DCleaks.com. DCleaks claimed to be run by American hacktivists advocating for political transparency. But its target list was curiously specific: top-ranking U.S. military officers, former NATO commanders, foreign policy think tanks, and prominent political figures. The site regularly posted private communications, personal family photos, and sensitive operational briefings stolen directly from personal email accounts. Investigators examining DCleaks discovered that its domain had been registered using the exact same virtual private servers and paid for with the exact same cryptocurrency wallets used by Fancy Bear. The site wasn't an independent movement, it was a dedicated digital distribution platform created by the GRU's specialized propaganda unit, known internally as Unit 7 for 455. Unit 7 for 455 wasn't made up of coders, it was made up of psychological operations experts, translators, and media strategists. Their job was to take raw intelligence harvested by hackers, curate it, frame it with maximum sensationalism, and deliver it straight to the American public. The Kremlin had constructed an end-to-end digital assembly line, from initial cyber breach, to data processing, to psychological warfare. October 7, 2016. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A devastating audio recording from 2005 leaks to the press, featuring Donald Trump making crude remarks on an Access Hollywood bus. The news cycles explode. The Trump campaign faces unprecedented panic, and political analysts predict the election is effectively over. Exactly 29 minutes later, at 4:29 p.m., Wikileaks drops its biggest weapon yet. They release the first installment of John Podesta's private emails, thousands of personal, strategic, and campaign documents stolen during the spear phishing attack back in March. For the next 30 days, leading all the way to Election Day, Wikileaks releases fresh batches of Podesta's emails every single morning at precisely the same time. The strategy is relentless. Rather than dumping all the files at once where they might be covered in a single news cycle, the release is carefully staggered to dominate the headlines every day, keeping the media focused on internal campaign drama. The drop on October 7th was not a coincidence. Forensic analysis of the digital transfers showed that the files had been staged and ready for release for weeks. The operators waited for the precise moment when the opposing campaign needed a distraction, executing a textbook counter-offense. Information was no longer just being stolen, it was being deployed like tactical artillery. To find the people pulling the strings, you have to look far from Washington, to a grand Soviet-era building on Komsomolsky Prospect 20 in Moscow. This is the headquarters of GRU Unit 26165, the elite cyber-espionage wing of Russian military intelligence. Inside this high-security facility, hundreds of young, highly trained military officers sit at glowing terminals. They don't wear uniforms to work, they wear casual clothes. Many were recruited directly from Russia's top technical universities, experts in mathematics, reverse engineering, and network penetration. They operate under strict military discipline, working in shifts to ensure global operations run 24 hours a day. Unit 26165 was tasked with breaking into targets, spear phishing officials, developing zero-day exploits, and maintaining control over compromised servers. Once they extracted stolen files, they handed them off to Unit 74455, located in a modern complex nearby in Khimki, known as the Tower. Unit 74455 was responsible for the active measures, managing the Guccifer 2.0 personas, running fake social media accounts to amplify leaks, and coordinating drops with international platforms. These officers weren't rogue agents operating in the shadows, they were state employees receiving official promotions, military commendations, and performance bonuses for successful breaches of Western targets. They believed they were completely anonymous, hidden behind layers of encrypted servers and state protection. They were wrong. No matter how elite a hacker is, human error is inevitable, and in late 2016, the operator behind Guccifer 2.0 made a fatal mistake that shattered his digital cloak forever. Normally, whenever the GRU operator logged into the Guccifer 2.0 Twitter account or WordPress dashboard, he routed his internet traffic through an encrypted tunnel, connecting to a commercial VPN provider based in France, which masked his true location. To anyone watching, the hacker appeared to be accessing the web from Western Europe. But one afternoon, during a routine session, the operator opened his web browser and logged into the Guccifer 2.0 social media accounts before launching his VPN client. For a few brief seconds, his raw, unencrypted internet connection pinged the server directly. That single unmasked ping was logged by American intelligence monitoring the server infrastructure. The IP address didn't point to France, and it didn't point to Romania. It traced straight back to a specific internet connection located inside the GRU headquarters on Komsomolsky Prospect in Moscow. The digital mask was officially pulled off. The mysterious lone Romanian hacktivist wasn't a hero, an activist, or a myth. He was a specific Russian military officer sitting at a desk in Moscow. July 13, 2018. Washington, D.C. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein steps up to a podium at the Department of Justice. He announces a landmark federal indictment brought by Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. A federal grand jury formally charges 12 named Russian military intelligence officers from GRU Units 26165 and 74455. The indictment isn't vague or generalized, it is a masterclass in digital forensics. It lists the exact names, military ranks, specific computer commands, and precise timestamps of every phase of the operation. The document details how Viktor Netikshow, commander of Unit 26165, oversaw the hacking operations, how Officer Ivan Yermakov conducted the spear-phishing campaign against Podesta, and how Officer Alexander Osadchuk managed the infrastructure for DC Leaks and Guccifer 2.0. It was an unprecedented move. The US government was publicly exposing the internal rank structure and operations of a foreign military intelligence agency. The indictment demonstrated that every movement, every keyboard stroke, and every Bitcoin transaction used to lease domain servers had been tracked and decrypted by federal investigators. Russia would never extradite the officers, but the message was clear: the veil of internet anonymity had been permanently broken. The 2016 operation revealed a terrifying new weapon in international conflict: weaponized transparency. Traditional foreign espionage aimed to steal military plans or trade secrets to read them in secret. The goal was to keep the target from ever knowing they were compromised. In 2016, the strategy was inverted. The steal was only step 1, step 2 was the public drop. By taking stolen emails, containing sensitive, awkward, or private political conversations, and pouring them into the public ecosystem, foreign adversaries proved they could turn a democracy's own values against itself. Freedom of the press, open political debate, and the high-speed nature of modern social media became the primary distribution mechanism for the breach. Traditional news organizations were placed in an impossible ethical dilemma: do you report on authentic, newsworthy documents, even if you know they were stolen by foreign military spies to manipulate an election? The GRU understood that in the modern internet age, truth doesn't need to be fabricated to be damaging, it just needs to be curated, timed, and pushed through the right outrage channels. The hack wasn't just an attack on a computer network, it was a hack on public psychology. The 2016 DNC hack changed foreign intelligence forever. It proved that a dedicated cyber unit with modest funding could achieve psychological and political impacts that rivaled conventional military actions, all without firing a single bullet or crossing a physical border. Today, the playbook established by Cozy Bear, Fancy Bear, and Unit 7455 is standard operating procedure around the world. State-sponsored threat actors from multiple nations routinely deploy spear phishing, deep-covered distribution personas, and weaponized leaks to influence elections, destabilize rivals, and undermine trust in public institutions. Cybersecurity is no longer just an administrative IT concern, it is the front line of modern sovereignty. Firewall updates, two-factor authentication, and employee threat training are now vital strategic defenses for national stability. The lines between military conflict, intelligence gathering, and political campaigning have blurred beyond recognition. As you scroll through your daily feed, read breaking news alerts, or watch political leaks unfold, remember the lesson of 2016. The most dangerous battlefield isn't a physical domain. It's the digital wire running silently beneath our feet, and the invisible fight for control of what you see, read, and believe.